I've wanted to do a square body Duraburb for a long time. I've done two GMT 800 Duramax Yukon XLs. I part out a lot of trucks. I've got spare Suburban frames. I've just been looking for the right square body Suburban body. I bought one back in like 2018 that was pretty clean. A little bit faded paint. It was two-tone gray. Nice interior. Paid $2,500. And then with everything that was going on, I buy so many damn vehicles. I just sold it, figuring I would buy another one later when I was actually going to get around to building one. But like everything else after COVID, people lost their damn minds and started asking too much for these. I see people listing the biggest, rustiest pieces of crap square body Suburbans for $5 or $6 grand. Nobody's going to pay that. But I wanted a GMC and I would like red. I don't mind the patina on this. I'll plan on repainting it red though. So I bought this a couple days ago. He listed it at $6. I wasn't going to give him $6. It is really straight, really rust free. All I want is the body and what little bit of the interior I can use. We ended up agreeing on $35, so I picked it up. The 350 is good. It's a 90. It's got a turbo 400, and I don't know if that's an NP208 or a 241, but I can sell the engine, trans, T-case, axles, wheels, probably the front bucket seats and console. I don't want those, so I can get at least half my money back. And this is the frame I'm going to put it on, if I can remember where I got this frame. This was a 2001. It had high miles and the body and interior were really beat up. I think I sold the engine and trans. I didn't even swap those into anything, but I kept the frame. So the frame was free after parting that out. I'm going to have to cut off all these body mounts and make new ones, but I'll strip most of this off and paint the frame after I've made body mounts. And I just pulled my donor in the shop. I've had this for a couple years. I was going to do another, I think I had a 06 body. I was going to do another Yukon XL to drive. Ended up selling it. Was looking for a better body. And since then, I've just kind of decided I don't want to build another GMT 800 Duramax Yukon. So this will now be the engine and transmission going into the Suburban. On the Jimmy over there, I'm trying to relocate stuff, make that engine look real pretty. On this, I'm not going to do all that. I'll just leave it a stock pull out, use a stock fuse box, try to clean it up as much as I can, but I'm not going to take the time to relocate stuff and reroute wires. And for the square body, I'm not sure how I want to mount the radiator and intercooler. I don't know if I can cut up the factory core support or maybe fit this one in there and then make headlight brackets, because on this one, it's the right width, it's at a good height. I can mount the hood latch to it and make mounts for the headlights, and I'll just use that whole core support. So I've got to figure out the core support and bumper mounts and body mounts. And then using a factory fuse box, that's your engine connector. That's the connector that goes into the dash. On an LS, you've only got to connect 5 or 6 wires. So it should be about the same on a Duramax. Just run a few wires under the cab or connect them to the factory engine harness in the Suburban, and then it should run. I don't want to drive that as is. I've got a lot of other stuff to do, but I do like to consolidate stuff like I did with my 57 the other day. I put the Duramax and cab on that newer frame. So I need to get rid of the donor and the original frame. So I'll get the engine and trans on there, put the body on there, then I can sell everything I don't need from that, get rid of the rest of this donor, and that'll free up a lot of space out here. Got the cab off the donor, so now I need to roll this chassis out and set the engine and transmission on the other frame. I got the engine swapped to the other frame, put the cab back on that frame so I can roll that back out over there out of my way. So if you never put a Duramax on a Suburban frame, you change the frame mounts. 2500 front sections are all the same. The only difference is on the HD and the 3500 the body mounts are taller. So the engine mounts bolt on. I have to drill holes to move the transmission cross member back a couple inches and shorten the drive shaft. Doesn't look like my rear main leaks, so there's no reason to separate the engine and trans, but I'm going to pressure wash all this. I'll have to take it back off, but I need it on here to see how high the body's going to have to sit and if I'm going to have to clearance anything. Engine mounts are broken, so I'll upgrade those. I'm going to do up pipes and down pipe and EGR delete. Front drive shaft fits. For fuel, I like to leave the hard lines on the engine, and then The return's 3/8, so I'll use the 3/8 feed from the tank as the return. And then the last two I put a sump in the bottom of the tank and hooked a 1/2-inch hose to the feed line. But that can sit there for the night. I'll throw a tarp over it. I'm gonna tow that out of my way, and then tomorrow I'll pull the body off the Suburban. And tonight I'll keep working on my Jimmy wiring harness. I'm getting close to done with it, and that's a nice, easy thing to do at night. Just sit here in the heat with the radio on and plug away at it. I get in a hurry and forget to record stuff, but the body's now sitting on a new frame. It's gonna have to sit higher than I had hoped, which is the main reason I used a Suburban frame, was to get the body lower, because the pickup frame rails come up higher. But in the back here, the spare tire tub is hitting the leaf spring, which I could either trim that off or I could convert this to a 4-link, because the wheelbase is like 1/2 inch difference. But I've got it sitting on two 2x4s on either side. So like I could come down another 3 inches here, but I can't come down that much in the front. The frame rails don't stick out far enough to hit these two rear body mounts, but I can add on to that. I also forgot the gas doors on the wrong side. That's an easy fix though. The body's actually a little too far forward, so the frame needs it to come forward a little more, which would bring the engine forward a little more. I got a lot of room on the sides and the back. I can't go much lower up front because of the intake tube, maybe an inch. Unless I modify that to sit lower, I could delete, I could get an aftermarket pipe here and delete the intake heater. I've also maybe barely got enough room to put the intercooler and radiator. If I trimmed this back, that would give me a little more room. I'll have to cut the bottom out, because that is so freaking tall. It's going to have to go way down in there to be able to close the hood, which also means I can't get the body much lower. Unless maybe if I swap to an LB7 intercooler and radiator. I'll have to measure, but that's at least a few inches less tall. But hooking up a steering shaft is easy. Hydro boost should be pretty easy. I could adapt the compressor to these AC lines, or I could smooth the firewall and use aftermarket AC, but I don't really want to spend that much money. So the intercooler and radiator are going to be the tricky part. I've seen this done with crew cabs on newer frames. I haven't seen anybody do a Suburban. And I guess I'm running into the same problem as my 57 GMC. If I can't fit both radiator and intercooler, I could do the radiator, and then an air-to-water intercooler would be an option. From the stock core support mount here to the top of my core support, I've got about 28 inches. This radiator is almost 25 tall, plus a couple inches for the mount and the bottom of the core support. I guess that would barely fit, probably, if the body stays at the same height. Or let's see how this LB7 compares. So that looks like about 23. So I'd still have 4 inches. I could bring the Suburban body down more if I used that style. And then I would just have to do something with the intake tubes to clear the hood. And I'll probably have to convert to electric fans, because getting the fan shroud to line up with that is going to be tough. But also that'd give me some extra clearance, because electric fans are probably only half as thick as that mechanical fan. So I'm going to roll this out and leave it like this till I get back to working on it someday. I just wanted to get it consolidated so I can get rid of all the spare stuff. I do have one crew cab frame. I could potentially look at shortening to put this on instead. So maybe I'll do that down the road. I don't know yet, but that's what I got for now.